It's out to deck. How you doing, guys?
Thank you.
It's like watching a film, but then all of a sudden we're in a film.
Roughly 5,000 metres above sea level. To give you an idea, that's about 700 metres on top of Kilimanjaro.
Race of Sidecar still going.
Steph, thank you so much for being on the Armchair Adventure Festival stage. This is the first year.
It's out to deck. How you doing, guys?
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Friday night takeaway or what? What's going on?
We actually
Yeah,
did
this
this
is always
all
good.
like at the deck as well, but we, you know, next door. So what can you do?
Far better looking. Far better looking.
But yeah, so I mean, honestly, thank you so much for coming on. And as I said at the beginning, you were the first person who sort of said to us, "Yeah, I'd love to be a part of this," which is absolutely amazing. I guess the first thing I wanted to know, which is kind of based on the fact of my match trick, our trip was 15 months on the road, and after the end of those 15 months, we were knackered. You were on the road for 4 years. How on earth did you keep going for 4 years on the road without thinking, "Oh, I just want to go home now"?
Well, I know I did have times where I wanted to go home, I think, but very rarely. I think the thing for me that kept me going was my ultimate goal. And some people can just sort of wander aimlessly, and that's fine. That's great. If that works for you, then great. But for me, I had to have a goal and a mission, you know. And that mission was to ride on all 7 continents. That mission was to get around the world. And every time that I had those moments, and we all have those moments, because of course, you know, often we share all the good stuff and all the highlights, and there are times when you're just miserable. There are times when you're completely desensitized by your surroundings and the overload of information that's coming at you all the time, because you change every day. It's different information, it's new information, and sometimes you just go, "I'm done. Why am I doing this again?" And you have to remind yourself why you're doing it. And for me, that mission, that goal was what kept me going, really. And 4 years, yeah, I know that was a long time. It wasn't the plan, but yeah, and I was shattered. My body did pay. My joints are now. I think I've got the body of a 60-year-old internally. Obviously, outside I look amazing, but yeah, long time ago.
So, I mean, I guess that comes on to, like a drive, I suppose, isn't it, really? You're quite driven to sort of complete that. I mean, I suppose in terms of the actual video and that sort of stuff that we've just seen there, it sort of touches on, like, you know, your past and that sort of stuff. Does, like, your drive to want to have, like, a goal and complete something, does it stem from, like, what you sort of, I suppose, doing something different with your life and sort of focusing on things, or where do you reckon that sort of comes from?
Yeah, no, definitely, it had a lot to do with it, I think, because you know, from that grew a desire to sort of grab life by the proverbials, I would say, and make up for lost time, and I had a lot of making up to do. So it certainly was the inspiration behind a lot of things that I do. And being so honest about it, I think that's something that I felt is really important now, particularly because if I'm being sort of very vocal or very, very public about my achievements, then I think it would be insincere to not share my failures as well. And I think that's important today, particularly more than any other time, because you know, you've got the media, you've got the social media particularly, right? Who there's always sort of showing people these perfect lives and perfect this, perfect that, and I think it's really important, particularly for young people, to realize that it's okay to make mistakes, that it's okay, and that actually you can recover from that, and that hopefully by me saying, "Hey, look, I'm not all that. Look, this is who I am in my entirety," you know, then hopefully that will give people a little bit of hope and inspiration to keep going in tougher times, you know.
Yeah, I can definitely see that that's true, Steph. And I mean, I can just say, by looking at the feed that's coming up here, so many people are saying, like, yeah, Steph, completely resonated with it. And oh, hi, Steph. We're massive fans. So I think everyone's loving that honesty, Steph, for sure. I think that was why you managed to get such a big following on your trip.
Well, like I said, it did take me 20 years to be that honest. And those guys like Henry, was it, that said, age has got nothing to do with it. For me, wow, if I'd have tried to go around the world at his age, I never would have made it. Absolute kudos to him and to Jack, because, they don't, I mean, they're clearly far more switched on than I was at that age. I took a little bit longer to mature maybe, but to get a bit sensible. I never would have made it. I'd have got myself into all sorts of trouble. So the fact that they're doing it, that they've done it, and in Jack's case, continues to do it, good on them. They might have a bit more energy than I have, but they, there's a lot to be said for that little bit of extra wisdom that you get as you continue, and that's probably what saw me through. So yeah, absolute respect to both those guys.
Yeah, nice one. And so then, Steph, I mean, you go on this big life-changing dream of a journey. You rack up 4 years around the world, achieve this massive thing. You get home, you have that fish and chips you've been dreaming of, or whatever it was. And then the dust settles, and what happens? What was that like after complete change of lifestyle, I guess?
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. There was a change of lifestyle. I think that coming home was a change of life, because the trip after 4 years had become a lifestyle, not just a journey, not just a mission, but a whole lifestyle. They're moving every day, different scenery every day, and never settling too long to get into an argument. For example, it's different faces. You start feeling like you're going to get into an argument. You leave, and it's kind of a shallow existence in one sense, in that sense. And now I'm at home, and I thought, everyone kept telling me, oh, you're going to get depressed, you're going to get this, and I thought, well, I feel all right, and I went to a few parties. I went to a lot of the overland events and the motorbike events, and I felt like a rock star. I was just, yeah, people buying me beers. I'm like, yeah, I'll have a tequila as well, if you don't mind. And it was great. And then suddenly I woke up, and that blank canvas that I'd been talking about so much, that was just, oh yeah, it's all going to be cool, I got blank canvas, suddenly was terrifying. And I thought, well, where's my goal? What's my drive? I've done that. What do I do next? So it was a kind of a bereavement, and I had to go through that period of bereavement. So yeah, it was pretty strange. Obviously I'd sold everything to go, I was a no tomorrow syndrome. I was just like, gone, I don't care what happens afterwards, so to come back and go, oh, I hadn't thought about this bit. So yeah, it was a pretty strange strange experience, but I think I was ready to stop after 4 years. My body definitely was. So I'm settled-ish again, but I'm always looking for that next adventure. So yeah.
It's funny you say that, because I guess we can completely sort of understand that. We were only gone for 15 months, but then when you get back, it's really exciting, and that sort of stuff. You still feel quite good about it, and then eventually it's like, oh, I'm home now, and it is certainly different. I mean, you talk about sort of, you say your body was ready to sort of come home. I felt all right, but I know Matt was a mess, so he really.
Yeah, especially after Siberia. That was a couple of stone we lost there. I've done some good eating. Look better.
But I mean, Steph, you sort of like touched on it there, like once the dust settled and that sort of thing, you're like, okay, I need to drive, go, what's next? And obviously, since then you got back a couple of years ago now, and you've done much more cool things since, and you've got plenty of cool things coming up as well. One of the first things you did was obviously that Everest Base Camp trip. You took the first sort of all-female group up to Everest Base Camp. I mean, firstly, how was that? Because I watched that, and it was like, some of the photos was unbelievably intense, really hard. But also, what was the difference between doing that, solo trips, and then you're suddenly the leader of a whole group? It's a completely different sort of style of travel.
Yeah, well, totally different. I'd run a couple of tours before, but several years ago in Morocco, so I knew vaguely what that'd be like. But yeah, solo travel and riding with a bunch of crazy women is definitely very. And I know some of them are watching now. Hi guys. Yeah, very, very different. You're not just thinking about yourself, but you're thinking about other people. It's in some ways more stressful, but at the same time, I wasn't. I don't, people kept saying that I keep saying that I led them. I don't feel. I was with a bunch of, I was with a bunch of really tough, strong women, and we worked as a team, and sometimes I supported them, sometimes they supported me, and that was actually really nice to have that teamwork and that camaraderie going on, So yeah, actually, can I show you some pictures from that trip?
Of course.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Let's see if it works.
Let's see if this technology works.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Get it up.
Okay, are we
Here we
going
go.
for it? We're going for it.
That was seamless, wasn't
Okay. It was seamless. Check me out. You should have seen me 5 minutes ago. I had my modem broke, everything. So that's working. So we did it on these bikes, and I'll try and be quick because we don't have too long. But we did it on the Royal Enfields, which are pretty heavy bikes. Now that's one big difference with a group of women, and you know, we have to accept there are differences. And one of them is that that we're not generally as strong as you guys. We're not built with as much muscle. So it was, I think this is 190 kg of bike, you know, when you start throwing it in mud, and when I say mud, we had a lot of mud, then it starts getting pretty heavy pretty quickly. These are the women that joined us, and big up to all these women. Sadly, not all of them made it. It was a very tough call one day when we had to make the decision that some of us were going to continue, and the rest of us and the rest were going to go home. It was a harrowing day, that, but the guys, the ones who could continue did, and we had to see that through. These are women from all over the world. We've got yoga instructors, we've got chemists, we've got all sorts of crazy bloody bunch, these lot. This is the route that we did, and we started in Kathmandu, went all the way to base camp. Now, I didn't know before this that there were 2 base camps, right? There's one in Nepal and there's one in Tibet. I just thought it was Everest Base Camp. So a lot of people were having a go at us initially, going, "What are you doing riding to Everest Base Camp?" Well, actually, there's roads all the way to the Tibetan base camp. So then people were saying, "Well, what are you shouting about then? This is easy. It's all public roads, right, all the way." And I think they thought we were just making a big, you know, mountain out of a molehill. But when you have altitude and Mother Nature, then and motorbikes, then, you know, things are never going to run smoothly. And this is what it looked like when we left Nepal. It got absolutely, we had historic rainfall, and we left in this, and we were like, should we go up into the mountains, you know? And we decided as a team that we'd continue. Just a bit of rain, right? And it's on public roads. What's the problem? How hard can it be? And it did. It started fairly nice. But this is, I think, Ruby Valley. It was lovely, you know. And the problem was, we then found out that one of the roads was closed due to a landslide, so we had to take another road. This is gorgeous. This is Ruby Valley.
Oh, that's amazing.
Before the chaos and the tiered landscape as well. It's absolutely gorgeous. You know, we call it adventure. These guys call it Tuesday. You know, the locals are just around watching these nutters coming through on motorbikes. But then, as we started climbing, the road started getting worse and worse. And this was the only road to the Tibetan border. Now, this border has just reopened recently. It was been closed off for a long time. So we're not talking highways up to it. And the problem was that a load of trucks had gone through and were still going through as we were traveling through. So you can see all the ruts. And the problem was as well, they were losing traction. So they were putting big rocks down into the ruts. And then to get that traction, now we'd come along, I got this, bang, you know, and we get stuck on top of these ruts. So it was carnage for a while. We had a lot of this going on, a lot of falls, a lot more falls, and then even further falls. And we lost a couple over the edge. It got pretty manic. And then we started losing people in the water, and I know Kaz is watching now. This isn't Kaz, but I was too busy trying to help Kaz at the time, but she went through this very waterfall, and she ended up falling. Now, she'd stopped in the middle of the waterfall, and I said, okay, so I ran in to help her. I'd waited on the side, and I ran in, I said, okay, and I gave her a pep talk, you know, a Steph pep talk. So it's like, okay, just give it a little bit of throttle, like nice and steady, look where you want to go, and just go for it. Okay, go, you got this. And as soon as I said, you got this, she went, and, and fell over. And I called her Karen Waterboard Anderson ever since, because I hope you don't mind me telling that story, because it was, I wish I could show you the video, because she was just had the full force of the water on top of her. and a load of us trying to lift the bike off her leg. And it must have felt like she was drowning, but she carried on. She kept going. She still had to deal with altitude and all sorts. And there was already altitude at this stage, so it wasn't just the water. It was the altitude, and then later on the cold. So not easy, you know. And this picture, you think you can sort of see. Can you see the amount of trucks lined up there? So we've got to pick our way through all of those trucks and the mud, you know. So yeah, it was absolutely chaos. At one point, we had to get dug out by the military. They had to come and dig us out. We abandoned the bikes and all sorts. It was not a walk in the park, I tell you. The bikes themselves did really well, but we did go through. I mean, they did exceptionally well. If anybody has any doubts about the Royal Enfield Himalayan, they're a cheap bike in the sense of, you know, not going to cost you too much, but they've done they did exceptionally well. We did go through, I can't remember, I think I lost count, but it was something like 12 clutches because of all this revving and trying to get over these rocks and that kind of thing. So it was slightly chaotic. But once we got to Tibet, the Tibetan border was the weirdest border I think I've probably ever been through. Very, very sort of regimented. You were scared to smile. It was kind of, whoa, okay, stand in line, shut up, don't make eye contact. And then the Tibetan plateau, of course, is stunning. It's got hundreds of mountain peaks over 7,000 meters. So it's a stunning place. But then, of course, you've got the altitude to deal with, and it was quite bizarre. Then it did start affecting the women in strange ways sometimes. This is at one of our tea stops with our Tibetan guides who'd provided some tea on the side of the road, and all the women started dancing. And that's Karen again, look. That's Danny there. The altitude affects you quite badly because you're tired and you're breathless, and you can get slightly confused. Now Danny is an expert, a pro at opening beer bottles, but she was confused. You could see the confusion on her face there. You know, at the end of the day, that's what altitude does. So, but she'll love the fact that I showed that picture. But we made it. We rode. The last section was riding up these switchbacks, which takes you all the way up to pretty much all the way to base camp, and it was stunning. Sadly, I didn't get to ride them because I donated my bike to somebody else because we'd lost a lot of bikes, a lot of clutches. We ran out of clutches. So I was in the support truck. Damn it! But as you can see, it's just a beautiful area. And these women did so well. We made it, you know, we all did really well, including the support crew, including the doctor who was very busy looking after us. And when we arrived, you can see we couldn't see Everest Base Camp. It should be behind us there. Everest, I mean. But in the morning, we got up about 5 in the morning, and that was our prize.
Mate, that is unbelievable. Look at that.
Stunning, eh?
Yeah.
And so these are the women that made it, and you know, like I said, big respect to everyone, all of them who took part, not just the women who made it, because it was a real challenge, and we knew it was going to be, but we never knew quite how much. So yeah, it was great.
That is a pretty incredible little trip there, Steph. Insane.
It was pretty cool, eh?
Yeah.
I think we're stuck. Oh no, we're not. Sorry, carry on.
Amazing looking at that. I mean, I'm sure Reese is thinking the same as me. That's next time you do it, Steph, take a sidecar. You know, you don't fall over on those ruts. You're always trekking on for that mud. You're not slipping and sliding around. It makes perfect sense. The Sidecar Guys have got you covered in that respect. So yeah, do take a sidecar next time.
Is that a challenge? Should we go for it? Should we do like a joint adventures at Base Camp?
They are good at sidecars.
Yeah. So aside from bikes though, Steph, since you've been back, you've been up to all sorts of other stuff as well, which I believe has involved the person with you there, Chewy, your dog. You've been up to all sorts of adventures with Chewy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did a walk, 1,000-kilometer walk, and I wanted to do something that was in this country. I wanted to see more of this country. I felt a bit ashamed that I hadn't seen enough of it. I wanted to do something with my dog because I'd kind of abandoned her for 4 years with my parents, having said I'll be back in 18 months. And I also wanted to do something without an engine for a change because, well, like I said, my body was a bit tired and broken, and the walk was also a good excuse to get fit. I need those, as I've said before, I need those goals and those challenges, and that was just the challenge for me. And so I did it. I went for it. Again, I'll show you some pickies if you don't mind. Have we got time?
Yeah, we got time. Yeah, go for it. Let's have a look.
So this was, oh, hang on. Are we sharing? I'm sharing.
Yeah.
We got you.
I got it. So this is obviously me and Chewie. This is the route that we did, and so we started in Fort William. We went all the way down and around and to Edinburgh, and then Carlisle, and then to Snowdon, and we included the 3 peaks, of course, plus several other peaks, but the 3 highest peaks in England, Scotland, and Wales. We started on Ben Nevis. We climbed up there first, and then we followed the West Highland Way. And one thing I learned about traveling so slowly is that, well, you kind of, I don't know, you soak it in more. Plus, if you can see, you see that path. I was walking that path, and I could see for miles, and I had a 15 kg of weight on my back, and I thought, well, crikey, that's a long way to go, and you've got to reset your brain to kind of deal with those miles going forward, but then to look back and go, wow, look what I've just walked. That was really cool. Also, this landscape hasn't changed for forever, right? So you feel like you're doing you're following in the footsteps of people, those people 200, 300 years ago, 400, 500 years ago. So it's just a wonderful experience and very, very different. And one thing I'd like to really make the point about with this is that, who knows when we can start flying again, but we can have an adventure anywhere. And this country is full of places to have adventure. In Scotland particularly, this is, I've wild camped all over the world, but this is one of my favorite wild camps in the world, and this was up in Scotland, and I'd walked for a full day and a half and not seen anybody, and then I camped up here. Chewie'd left me by this point. She'd gone home because she had a bad dicky shoulder, so she was like, I'm not walking all this, are you crazy? So I was left on my own, but and it was sad because she was my perfect traveling companion, but I was up here on my own. It never got dark, so you've got that full 360 view, and then this haze all around, and it was absolutely stunning. So but there's loads of places to camp in this country. You can wild camp. That was on the side of a canal, actually, and then this was technically not a legal camp, but I got there late, and I left really early, and I left no trace, so it was all good. And then through the Lake District, met my mum and my uncle and my mate Danny and Chewie again for the second big peak, and then continued on through Hadrian's Wall and onwards. And actually the biggest challenge was Snowdon in the end. I decided to not go the easiest route, of course, to Snowdon, and take the Carn Neddau, which is a range of mountains that includes. Snowdon is the highest in Wales, and then you've got Llywelyn and Dafydd and all that, and there's a whole long line of them. I decided to go up and over those over a space of 2 days, and then down and then up Snowdon. Chewie joined me again, as did my mate Wazzy, who wouldn't let me go alone because you could see the weather had changed. Unfortunately, the weather got really bad, and we ended up almost getting blown off the mountain. We got lifted up. You can see his rucksack. We both had rucksacks. Chewie had a rucksack. We got lifted up into the air on top of Llywelyn and thrown towards the edge, which was a sheer drop. And Chewie very nearly went over. I was screaming. I was thinking, she's never going to come on an adventure with me again. but we survived. We did it, and it makes for a great story. And we had a whiskey at the top of Snowdon, and it was just a great buzz, It was a really nice adventure. I absolutely loved it.
That's awesome. And I think you're so right. At a time like this, to be able to see those pictures, I know that we can't do stuff like that right now, but when we eventually can get out and adventure in the UK, at least. That's good signs. There's hope for fun here in the UK for a while, at least, looking at those pictures.
It's definitely true. Except I'm actually looking at this newsfeed now. It's quite funny. I was thinking about it, and I got distracted in the newsfeed, and I looked down. People were saying those photos are incredible. And obviously the photos of like Hitler in the Himalayas are absolutely incredible. Then all these photos of the UK, and like we've done trips up in Scotland and that sort of stuff, and it's just like such a magical place if you give it time. So, and I think that fits in really quite nicely, because this sort of whole festival, we've got a lot of sort of like people done a load of motorcycle adventures similar to ourselves, but we all wanted to do something that wasn't just specifically motorcyclists. You know, we've got a lot of people tuning in who aren't motorcyclists as well, so it's nice to sort of see other sort of different kind of adventure you can do and that sort of thing. And that's just like so cool. I really love it. Yeah. I mean, in general, we are, I guess, coming on to time. I suppose only one or two more questions that I had, really, or maybe one. Really. It does go back to that first trip that you had. 4 years around the world is a heck of a long time, you know. If you had to pick two people who were, you know, your favourite people that you met on your trip, who would they be, and why? I suppose we're looking for really. You can just, we're looking at probably
I feel like
down specific.
I feel this maybe is a loaded question. I mean, there were a couple of camels next to the pyramids at one point. Oh no, hang on, I met you guys, didn't I?
Did meet us guys, yeah.
Actually, that was quite embarrassing. I mean, you guys were on your knees for so long, like, oh, Steph Jeavons, oh my God. You know, it was kind of embarrassing. But we're over that now. I mean, look at you now. Look at you, like the film festival organizers, everything now.
Yeah, that's shameful because that's actually true. So yeah, it was the little town of Dongola, I think it was always in Karima where we met, and then you came over the brow of the hill on your adventure bike, and we were like, good heavens, it really is Steph Jeavons, and there you were. Very, very.
It was the weirdest sight though, because I sort of came around the corner. It was the last thing I expected to see, and then when I jumped off and went, "Hi guys, you know, I'm Steph," and you came back with this British accent. I was like, "Oh my God, yes, this is so cool." Yeah, it was lovely. Yeah,
so funny, so
very cool. Well, right, we better wrap up there, Steph, because we've got another guest coming on very soon. So thanks so much for coming on though and sharing all your stories. We could have talked all evening, but yeah, thanks so much for coming on, and hopefully you stay for the rest of the festival.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure. Always a pleasure to talk to you guys. I'll see you again soon, eh?
Thanks.
Catch you later, man. Thank you.
Wow. Good heavens, that was indeed Steph Jeavons. So Steph Jeavons was one of the first people to kick off for the Friday night at the Armchair Adventure Festival. First proper Q&A we did really, and absolutely loved it. I mean, she really took us through large parts of her life there.
Really interesting Q&A, mate. Yeah, she was very open to talk about all sorts of things, and some crazy challenges she's been up to. So really, really cool. You might have seen we mentioned the video in that a fair few times. We couldn't post that video with this Q&A, so we've included it on a link below. Just click the link below and you can watch the video about Steph Jeavons' trips. Amazing, a little vid they've put together there. Well worth watching.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was, as we said, it's one of our first talks on the Armchair Adventure Festival, and we've got plenty more coming. Starting next weekend, we're going to be reliving the Saturday evening and Claudio von Planter's Q&A with Billy Ward, aka Billy Bike Truck, which was unbelievable.
Yeah, it really was actually unbelievable. Claudio, I think nobody knew he'd done all this crazy stuff, really. He's so modest about it all. He's a proper professional, you know, on the front line cameraman. He's gone to some of the craziest places. The bloke has interviewed Osama bin Laden. So pretty mad stuff, really. And he talks all about it. It's an absolutely cracking interview from Billy. That's going to be coming out next weekend. If you want to catch it before, though, you can. You just have to go onto our Patreon page and you pay $3 a month to get early access to all our videos. So you'll get every video we do a week in advance. And there's some other options too on there if you want to become a festival producer or festival director, where you get your own limited edition stickers to whack on your rig. Obviously, imagine most of you have got a sidecar rig. So you can do that kind of stuff. Hey, mate, I think it's worth it. What do you think?
Definitely, yeah. And one thing I would just quickly say to finish this off is that it was Osama, not Obama. All right, two very different people, two very different points of view. So
yeah,
just bear that in mind.
And for anyone watching outside of the UK who don't watch Gavin and Stacey, Reese hasn't just had like a weird thing there. That was something that's on British TV.
Yeah.
Osama, Obama. Next week, Patreon page. Check it out. I think it's pretty cool. $3 a month. Why not? It helps us put this whole thing on. Should I keep going on about it, Reese? Or should we just let him go? Also, guys, don't go on it. You're going to see it anyway. It's coming out next week. So if you can resist the temptation to get early access to Claudio, just wait. Next Sunday night. And then obviously, if you think about it, guys, next Sunday, you're only going to get the week ahead anyway. So it's not like you'll have two to watch next Sunday. You're only having one weekend with two at the end of the day. So some may say it's not really a benefit.
Were you a salesman in a previous life, mate?
Yeah, it was. But I guess also you do get to rest assured you're supporting the Sidecar Guys and the Armchair Adventure Festival, and we can keep putting this stuff on. So $3 a month, what? Less than a price for a cup of coffee? Right now, you can't even go and buy a cup of coffee. So what I'm suggesting, guys, is for the money you can't buy a cup of coffee with, give it to us. Don't really receive any benefits, and then the Armchair Adventure Festival happens.
So there you have it, the pros and cons of supporting the Armchair Adventure Festival and the Sidecar Guys in the coming weeks. You make your mind up, but I think Matt really has evaluated it for you both ways.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. We're fair here. We give you the ins and outs. Very transparent.
Yeah.
Sidecar Guys.
You're cool. Really is.
Not worth it.
By the way, guys, while Matt has started off, I do actually think it's worth it, because as well as Steph Jeavons talk, Claudio Van Planter's talk, you also get our talk, and that was an absolute hoot, honest. So make sure you hop over to our Patreon page and you get some special stickers, and everyone likes stickers. You put them, I don't know, on your fridge, your bike, book, laptop, your counter, table, bed, post. Plant pots. The bottom left-hand side of your mirror. Have I said fridge?